Badly Trading Podcast, everybody. How are we doing this week? I am apparently going to be riding a swing.
You are, yes, you're gonna be swinging today, apparently, like you used to. Um, so, by the way,
Just don't let me jump off this time.
we won't talk about that. That was anyway. If for those of you who don't know, he's Nick, which he should have said when he started, and I'm Pepper. I'm his father. That's all right. We're still getting in the groove in this. And Nick is going to be learning all about Forex today. Isn't that right, Nick?
Sure. Let's say that.
Let's say that. So last week, we went through the self-assessment test that everyone needs to go through. If you need a copy of that, we've got it down in the description.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. And
yeah,
Nick is much like everyone else who has a busy life and doesn't have a large chunk of time to devote every day or night or whenever it is to day trading. So we're starting Nick off with swing trading, which is a fantastic place to start learning trading and start building some consistency. And then if you think, hey, maybe now I can add day trading to it, you can move up to it. So, by the way, folks, Nick is my child. Now, Nick is prone to distraction, and Nick got that characteristic from me. So when the two of us get it together, from time to time, we get squirrel. So, here's why Nick is learning Forex. There are 3,000 to 4,000 stocks in just the New York Stock Exchange alone. Plus there's the NASDAQ. Plus there's the American Stock Exchange. Plus there's all kind of stock exchanges around the world. There are tens of thousands of stocks to choose from. And if I were to tell Nick, hey, Nick, go pick you 10 stocks, whatever you want, Nick would come back to me in about 4 years. Okay, I have seen them all now. By the way, I built a Maserati in my garage in the meantime because I got distracted.
Yeah, I probably would, build a Maserati, build another computer or two. Probably would have broken something and tried to refix it and realized it wasn't worth fixing, so I sold it.
So what we're trying to say is that in the realm of trading stocks, too many choices can sometimes be a bad thing, which is why Nick is starting with Forex. Because how many Forex pairs are there, Nick?
I don't know.
I haven't taught you that bit yet. There are 28. Why are there 28? There are 8. Every country in the world has its own currency, and you can trade.
There's more than 28 countries, though.
There are, right. So there are 28 major pairs that the majority of the $3 trillion a day Forex market uses. There's lots of them, but most of the money is just in those 28 pairs from 8 countries. So if you're not one of these 8 countries, I'm sorry, it's not me. That's just what the market has set. So the major currencies, the 4 majors are the U.S. dollar, the British, do you know what it is?
Pound.
The British pound, right? The European, the European what?
European. Euro?
The euro, that's right. So back before Bretton Woods II, which is 1993 meeting, each country in Europe had its own. So you had the Swiss franc, the French franc, you had the German mark. You had every country had it. The Italian lira. You had all these countries that had their own currencies. Then they all switched over to.
Is there a currency named Forest so we could trade franc and Forest?
There's not a currency named Forest. No. You can see, yeah, it's why it's so hard to say on top. So there's the European euro. Now the British have always kept their British pound, even though when they were part of the European Union. But so there's the euro, the U.S. dollar, the British pound, and the Japanese.
Yeah.
The Japanese yen. Those are the 4 majors, and then the 4 minors. Chinese is the yuan, and theirs is not part of. Theirs is not as they don't have an open market for the yuan. You can get yuan, but it's not traded on the open market like the other ones are. Otherwise, it would be obviously right. It would probably bump the pound out of it. And the 4 minors are there's the Swiss franc, and then the 3 other dollars. So you got the Canadian dollar, the Australian dollar, and the New Zealand dollar. You're thinking, hang on, wait a minute. Why do people trade New Zealand's money but not Turkey's money? Well, they do, but I don't know why. That's it. So I'm gonna blow your mind here, Nick. If you have 8
gobble.
If you have 8 currencies, 8 countries, and you're trading amongst each one, How many combinations is that?
I'm guessing 28 based off of what you said earlier.
Yes, it's not 64, it's 28. So there are
Which doesn't
7.
fit in binary with my monkey brain, but
Well, you think about it. The U.S. is one of 8, but there's only 7 combinations for the U.S. dollar because it's not the U.S. versus the U.S. You have to leave this out. So, but then once you've used the U.S. ones and all of them, the next one down only has 6. I mean, the next one only has 5. The next one only has 4 because they've all been used up. And
it's fair. I didn't think of that.
so, do you know what it means to trade Forex? You know what Forex means? That's step number 1. The word Forex.
I would assume foreign exchange.
Foreign exchange, foreign currency exchange. So if we were to ever take a trip to London, when we landed in Heathrow Airport, there'd be a giant ATM over in the corner, and you could stick your U.S. dollars in it, and it would spit British pounds back out of it. That is currency exchange.
What is the conversion rate currently?
Say what?
What is the conversion rate currently?
Between the dollar and the pound? I don't know. That's a good question for Chad. I mean,
Yeah.
I trade it, but I don't know the question. I don't know what it is currently. See, I love the. If somebody asks me, how's it going? I said, well, it's podcast sometimes gets off track, but
that's pound sterling. What is
yes.
pound sterling?
So sterling is sterling silver. So in ye olden days, the pound was a silver dollar. Well, no, it was a pound of silver metal is a pound of sterling silver. And so the British based their currency off of a pound of sterling silver. Whereas once upon a time, the US dollar was based on gold, but it's not anymore. We don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
So Forex,
talk about that.
Forex is just exchanging one country's currency for another. That's all it is. And you can do that on the open market. There is a British pound. Just look up, go to ChatGPT and say, what's the current GBP USD?
Would it be Great British Pound?
Yes. GBP USD is the, which brings up an interesting point.
This is why.
There's only one way to write those down. So all 8 of those currencies, all 8 of the Forex countries' main currencies have a 3-letter abbreviation. USD for, can you guess?
United States dollar.
All right. CAD.
The Canadian dollar.
Canadian dollar.
You say CAD, my brain goes to CAD, like CAD.
Yes, like I know AutoCAD. By the way, some of these have nicknames, and I love the nickname for the U.S. versus the Canadian. It's based on their country's official bird. You know what it is?
I feel like it's not the key.
It starts with an L.
The loony.
The loony. Yes, it is the loony. So, all right, this all started, by the way. The Great British Pound, GBP. Let me just finish this thought before I get distracted. The euro is EUR. The Swiss franc is CHF because I forget why. When you say it in French, it's spelled with a CH. Swiss franc, CHF. The Japanese yen is JPY. The Kiwi dollar is NZD and the Australian dollar is AUD. So those are the abbreviations. And you would think, okay, I'm going to exchange the US dollar for the Canadian dollar. Well, that's USD CAD or CAD USD. Whilst it doesn't matter which way in your mind you do it, it's only one way in the world. So forever and always, the exchange rate between the United States dollar and the Great Britain pound is GBP USD. It's never USD GBP. That's just the way that custom has evolved. Now,
also the conversion rate for that is £1 to 1.29297.
Yeah, so the pound has always been of more value. The yen is like, I don't know, 100 yen to the US dollar. It's several. It takes a couple of more than $1 to be £1. But so interestingly,
excuse me for interrupting.
No, go ahead. Interrupt away.
Would it make more sense if it's like, the Great British Pound is 1.29, so let's say $1.29 for £1?
Yes.
Would it not make more sense to go, okay, if the conversion rate is, say, $100 for the yen, okay, let me trade the yen, that's going to be more worth because I can put $1 in, let the yen go up to $200 and pull out. I mean, wouldn't it be more?
That would be,
I guess
that would be a
fractionally.
logical leap if every currency moved up and down at the same rate. But because of that
Yeah.
conversion rate, one if one we're gonna get there in a minute, but one pip, right? Stocks are traded in dollars, but you can't say, well, okay, so the exchange rate between the pound and the U.S. dollar moved up one what? Well, you can't say a dollar because you got the pound involved. You can't say a pound because you got the dollar involved. So what they did was they created a brand new unit of measurement for Forex, regardless of the countries. However, you break down your unit of money into smaller pieces, right? So you got the pound and the shilling and the pence and all those things. It's a pip, right?
And
so
the
instead of moving up,
doubloon and the
and the throb me bit, and all these British things, right? So it's a price interest point. So if the exchange rate between the dollar and the pound moves in pips, the exchange rate between the dollar and the yen moves in pips. However, whereas a daily, the dollar pound might move 60 pips up and down during the course of a day, the dollar and the yen might move 100 pips. So your question is, yes, hey, if the exchange rate between the dollar and the yen is more of one than the other, shouldn't we just trade that one? Well, it doesn't move quite as much as the other one does. So the actual day's movement kind of evens out. So when we say, hey, we're looking for pips in Forex, it'd be the same thing as if we're in stocks, we're looking at pennies and dollars. So that is one of the benefits to Forex, is that you don't have to worry about, hey, I'm just going after pips. I don't have to worry about the conversion rate, certain number of pips per day that this thing is moving. I mean, so that's how it's referenced. So for me, the interesting thing there is that I love history, and I kind of nerd out on the history of some of these. So once upon a time,
I blame you for my obsession with history.
Well, I guess that's all right. I am the one that calls it. Once upon a time, there was a cable, an actual physical. It's still there, but there was one cable laid between the Great Britain and the United States. And actually, the breaking, there was a telegraph cable that they laid at the base of the ocean floor all the way across the ocean. And actually, the breaking of this cable almost caused Great Britain to enter the war on the side of the Confederacy during the Civil War because the cable was broken.
Wait, really? I did not know that.
All right, so if the cable had
history break for everyone.
History break. So the telegraph cable, right? Beep, 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 right? It's just a basically giant copper wire on the base of the ocean floor. And the Union, the U.S., had stopped a British ship that was carrying the U.S. the Confederate ambassadors from the Richmond to London. They stopped the ship and arrested the two Confederate ambassadors and hauled them off the ship. And Queen Victoria hit the roof. What are you doing stopping one of my ships? This is British property. It's an affront to me. And she hit the roof, and they were composing letters like, "That's it, you're done. We're entering the war." And the logic was, if the cable had not been broken, then all of that emotion of "how dare you" would have just gone back and forth across the cable from London to Washington. Be like, "We can do what we want to." No, how dare you? And she literally loaded 5,000 troops on board a ship and sent them to Canada to march south.
Did not know that.
But because the cable was broken, it took a week and a half to get "how dare you" from London to Washington. And Washington's like, "We can do what we want to go back to." So because it took 3 or 4 weeks to communicate their effrontery, tensions cooled off in the meantime. Had it been instantaneous, tensions would have continued to boil and boil and boil, be like, getting tweet mad. And those 5,000 British troops, which landed in Canada, would have been, by the time they got there, their orders were to stand down and come home. But had they arrived there and the cable was still functional, historians believe the orders would have been march south and take Maine, because they had been Maine had been a sore point between U.S. and Britain for a while. Anyway, so every day in New York, the brokerage houses would send somebody over to the office where that cable came up out of the water and into a machine, beep, 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 and check the cable for the exchange rate that day between the United States dollar and the Great British Pound. So it became known as, so they would say, hey, go check the cable. So to this day,
Yeah.
the nickname for the pound, GBP USD, the nickname for that is the cable. If I was to tell a Forex trader, hey, are you trading the cable? Yeah, I'm trading the cable. We're referring to that one pair specifically because of that. Now,
how would they have checked the conversion rate? I mean, would they have just been like, hey, what do you want for the dollar kind of thing?
So,
or
well, London has always, and to this day still is, been the financial center of the world. So it's essentially, what is the conversion rate that the London banks are setting? And we New Yorkers, the upstarts,
Okay.
will just follow along, and maybe we'll try to buck it. We'll let them know what our opinion is of their rate, and we'll do a different thing. But London banks would set the rate and then send it to the rest of the world through the cable. They try to give a cute nickname to the Euro US as the fiber, because now we have fiber optic cables sitting on the floor of the North Atlantic Ocean. So they call it the fiber, but who cares?
It just sounds like you're eating cereal.
It does, but I do love the Canadian, the USD CAD, which is the loon or the loony.
Loony. It reminds me of Looney Tunes. Let's take a break real quick because winter is going haywire at this door.
Okay, we'll be right back, folks.
Yes. I'm gonna throw my timer up so Chris can see it.
Are we gonna Yeah, that's a good point.
I just need like 2 seconds. That's not the right one. Okay. Give me just a couple seconds.
By the way, Chris, if you're still listening to this, I like the blur as a transition. I don't know why. It's less abrupt than a wipe or whatever, and it doesn't go. I don't like the fade because there's a darkness element there. I do like the blur. So let's go with the blur for this transition.
In the office. Thank you.
We are rumbling outside. All right.
Oh, wow.
Taking my timer down in 3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1. There we go.
And we're back.
And we're back.
How's your cat?
Yes, I had to get my. He walked all the way. He was at the door. He walked all the way back to the bedroom. Went through the cat flap in the bedroom. So that way, I had to go into the bedroom to catch him.
Of course. So the things you need to know about Forex is that there are 8 countries in the world whose currencies are traded the most. You can trade the U.S. dollar, Mexican peso. You can trade the Swedish kroner versus the Swiss franc. All those types of things. But the 8 currencies are traded the most, and that equals 28 pairs. Is why I love starting people off with trading Forex on the daily chart, because it's only 28, and you can scroll through 28 pairs in 3 minutes. So the next,
You doubt my ability to doom scroll into how many pairs I can find.
You could find as many pairs, but now the other thing is the spread on the other pairs is higher. What is the spread? You may ask.
Spread? I have no clue.
You're supposed to say, what is the spread?
What is the spread,
So
Father?
a broker, much like a what's it called? The people who place bets, not the gamblers, but themselves, but the places the places that you place the bets, the betting houses,
Casinos?
the casinos, the odds makers.
I don't bet. I don't know.
I don't know. Much like the odds makers make their money in the middle, they get a commission, but they get a cut. The broker, Charles Schwab, if he's selling you something, he's getting his commission. So what they do is they buy and they sell, but you can never buy and sell at the exact same price. What was the exchange rate you mentioned earlier for the cable?
The cable is £1 to 1.29 US.
Okay, so 1.29. So you're gonna buy it at 1.2905 and sell it at 1.2903. Right? So you can never turn around and sell it immediately for what you bought it for. That little tiny difference is called the spread, and that's where the broker makes its money. Because the broker has bought it for 1.2905, and the broker has sold it to you for 1.2903. 0.08, and they've made a 0.03 spread, and they're doing this trillions of times a day, and that's where they make their money. So the spread.
So looking
what?
Looking at number of pairs real quick on another tangent, super quickly. There are over 1,000 combinations of currency that you can use.
So,
and one of the most exotic that I'm seeing is the euro with the Turkish lira.
Yes, that's because we will not get into this today. Some of the currencies pay you interest for owning them, based on that country's interest rates. Like forever, Japan has had a negative interest rate, meaning if you have your money in a savings account, you pay the bank to keep your money in your savings account, kind of thing. So anyway, there are 28 pairs that most people could trade, but even if you traded them all, that'd still be 1,000. But like with the Mexican peso, if you buy it and want to immediately sell it, you're going to lose some money. Same thing with the pound, with the cable. If you buy the cable, immediately sell it, you're going to lose a tiny bit of money immediately. If you buy the Swiss franc versus the Turkish lira and immediately sell it, you're going to lose a lot of money. That's why there's the 8. That's why there's the 28. You can do the rest, but not only are they more volatile, they swing a lot during the day. I mean, the Euro Swiss swings this much. It's kind of boring. All right. I probably shouldn't clap next to the microphone. Something else about
it'd be fine.
Forex. If you were to go and want to buy Apple stock, Nick, where would you go to buy Apple stock? Not like which brokerage house would you use, but where do you think the stocks are actually bought and sold?
TradingView.com.
The New York Stock Exchange. All right, might be the NASDAQ. It's probably the NASDAQ.
I think it is the NASDAQ.
That is the only place on the planet that you can go and buy Apple stock. Only place on the planet you can go. It's a centralized exchange. As I mentioned before, you can do a currency exchange in an ATM kiosk in Heathrow Airport. It is decentralized. So every broker does their own exchange rate. It's decentralized. Mm-hmm. So where then do you get the prices? Well, it's just sort of a conglomeration of these prices from all over the world. And so price is driven by the big banks in these big financial centers as the world wakes up. So whereas the U.S. stock market opens our time at 8:30 in the morning and closes our time at 3 in the afternoon, all right? The Forex market opens when the folks start going to work in Sydney, Australia. So for us, the Forex market opens at 5 p.m. on Sunday evening and does not close until 5 p.m. Friday evening. It just continues round and round the world, round and round. So the first 2 hours, Sydney is the only thing that's open. None of the other, everyone's still asleep around the world. So nothing's moving a lot. But then at 7 p.m. Central Time, Tokyo opens. What does that mean, opens? There's no ringing of the bell. It just means the guys in Tokyo who work for the banks sit down at their desks, open their computers, drink their coffee, and start working. So at 7 p.m., Tokyo is open. So from 7 p.m. to, I think it's 11 p.m., both Tokyo and Sydney are open at the same time. There's an overlap between the people who move the market, these big banks, in Sydney and Tokyo. Well, then Sydney...
Can that cause there to be a lot of movement with the currency?
Look, what's called liquidity. So lots of stuff's being turned over. And then for a period of time, Tokyo is by itself. And the volume of trades that are happening drop off. Well, then the big boy of them all, London, opens at 2 a.m. our time. And from 2 a.m. to 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., there's the Tokyo-London overlap. And that is the second largest time period of the day when there's things happening. The price is really moving. And then Tokyo goes to bed. And it drops off a little bit. Then the largest volume time of day happens. From 7 a.m. our time to 11 a.m. our time, New York and London are open at the same time. The guys that work at BlackRock and the guys that work at JP Morgan and what's the big one? Goldman Sachs. And the guys that work at Lloyd's of London, over in London. They're all at their desks at the exact same time, trading. So from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central Time, that's when the most trades that, and more stuff happens during those 4 hours than happened in the stock market all week. So lots of stuff happens. So if you're going to day trade the Forex market, 7 to 11 a.m. is your sweet spot. That's when everything's going to be happening. But that doesn't mean that if you say, I can't be at my desk
Central time.
between Central time.
7 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central time.
Exactly. It doesn't mean that if you can't be there then, you can't find a spot. Again, I used to day trade from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. in the evenings because I've got the overlap between Sydney and Tokyo. Not a lot's happening.
Just to sit there with your all-in-one and...
Yes, I used to. If you were like your brother Chris was, and a security guard in a booth at a Nissan plant overnight, you could wait till 2 a.m. and trade the London-Tokyo overlap. That'd be fantastic for you.
Littlest.
But the good news there is that Forex is open all that time for anybody, and you can limit the number of pairs that you want to trade. That's why for a beginner or for somebody who wants to, hey, it's not working for me, I'm struggling, I need to simplify what I'm doing, I highly recommend trading Forex and trading the daily chart. Check in once a day. So for me, I trade every day at 3:30.
Chart today.
And you say, well, okay, because I'm going to say this, and you're going to go, what in the world are you talking about? For the 4 o'clock close of the market. Now, I just said something a minute ago that you're going to say, hang on, I thought you said, you know what I'm talking about, or are you distracted?
I got distracted.
That's okay. So at 4 o'clock our time, the market, quote unquote, closes. The New York market is done. It's gone to bed. Sydney's not yet open. So there's an hour from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock when, yes, the market is still open, but the broker that you're using actually shuts down their computer for 5 minutes and calculates all the day's trades, archives them, and gets ready for the next day. Because 4 o'clock is the international dateline. That's when the next day happens in Australia. All right, at 4 o'clock our time is midnight at the international dateline, and the next day is happening. Because remember, 5 o'clock our time when Sydney opens on Monday, they're in Tuesday already. So for an hour, we consider it closed. The spread widens because no one's trading anything. So that is why I love Forex. It is flexible, it's limited, and it doesn't move quite so much. There aren't as many surprises. I was trading John Deere a couple of weeks ago. John Deere had an earnings announcement. You know, it's the company that makes the tractors. They had an earnings announcement, and they beat earnings. What does that mean? That means that when they announced, hey, this is how much earnings we made, Wall Street was expecting them to be, I forget what it was, $1 a share. And they came out at $1.25 a share. And their stock dropped 30% like that. You know, why? Why? Exactly. Why?
Wouldn't that be good?
One would think. Never, ever try to apply logic to an earnings announcement. You can only ever avoid them. There's an old saying, the market can stay illogical longer than you can stay liquid. In other words, if you try to apply logic, you're going to go broke. So,
okay.
And what happens is these announcements happen while the market is closed, and you can't do anything about it. Bill Gates dies overnight. Well, back when he was in charge of Microsoft, if Bill Gates had died overnight, their stock would have tanked the next day. And if you were holding Microsoft
the next day,
probably so. If you were holding Microsoft, there's nothing you can do. The market's closed. You literally cannot get out of your stock before the market opens. However, because Forex doesn't close, there's no that limitation doesn't exist. If Bill Gates dies, the U.S. currency is not going to be affected. So there's that. There's a lot less news that happens. The only things that I worry about that are going to drive price are elections, which I avoid. I don't trade Forex when there's an election. And for a while there, it was interest rate announcements. But even then,
interest rate announcements.
So, like, if the Federal Reserve says, "Hey, we're currently paying 5% interest," the benchmark interest rate for the U.S. is 5%. We're going to raise it to 5.5%, or we're going to lower it to 4.5%. We're going to change the rate that the Fed, loan money to the banks, which affects mortgages and all that. But by and large, I mean, when the nuclear power plant in Japan, Fukushima, melted down, the Japanese yen crashed, that kind of thing. But those are so much fewer in the Forex world. So there's less stress There's less surprises. I say less. There's fewer surprises. Um, and because it's open all the time, if something's going to happen, and the other thing is, you know about it. You know when elections are going to happen. You know when these interest rates they're announced a year in advance. So Forex is a great way to get your feet wet, to start with just, hey, I'm just going to look 28 pairs. I'm going to do it once a day. It moves predictably and slowly, for the most part. That's why I love Forex. And you get to learn these pairs, and then once you've mastered trading, you go out and trade anything you want to. So, do you have any questions? I'm sure you do, about Forex in general. I've sort of explained to you why I think Forex is the best place to start. Do you have any questions about the specifics of this or that?
See, you're gonna ask if I have questions, and whatever questions I had just completely.
That's all right. I'm sure they'll pop up as we talk.
I can. Yeah. One of the things that. Yeah, it's really trying to leave. I'm trying to catch it. But one of the things that you had said was that it never closes. The Forex market never closes. What? I mean, you did also say it closed. Like it's not functional during Friday at 5 p.m. to Sunday at 5 p.m.
So
it's during that time, I'm assuming it's just nothing happens.
Right, nothing happens, and that is because the Forex market is driven by individual brokers. I mean, let's say it's Bob's Forex brokerage house. Well, Bob shuts down for the weekend, and therefore, if you have an account with Bob's Forex house, you can't do anything when Bob is shut down. Bob's open the rest of the time, but when he closes his door, much like the New York Stock Exchange, when he closes up for the weekend, they're done. So that's why that is. By the way, one of the main reasons I love Forex for beginners is because you're not buying anything of a country's currency. You can buy as much or as little as you want, as opposed to one share of Apple.
There.
You got to have $250, give or take, to buy one share of Apple. Well, you can buy $10 worth of the exchange rate between the pound and the U.S. I mean, essentially, if I said you're going to buy the cable, you're selling dollars and buying pounds. You actually own pounds. You might own a fraction of a pound, but you still own pounds. So for somebody like you who may not have a couple $100,000 sitting in an account ready to trade with, I'm assuming you don't have a couple $100,000 in an account sitting ready to trade with.
No, I do not.
You can open a real account for $10, and you can literally trade. I'm going to risk 50 cents to make $1, and so you can start trading real money with very, very little money. There's no minimum amount. Now, some places like Robinhood and M1 Finance will actually allow you to buy a fractional share of a stock. So you could say, I'm going to open a $100 account and I'm going to buy $10 worth of Apple. But you got to find specific places like that. But Forex market, you can buy as small amount as you want. So that's why I love it for beginners, because it's easy and it doesn't take any money to get into it. Matter of fact, I prefer people to paper trade on demo for a while. But once you start trading real money, let's start with a very small amount of money and work our way up. Yeah.
2 cents.
Once we get started with that, I'm gonna put $100 into an account for it, and we're gonna be trading that. So that's Forex in a nutshell. Foreign currency exchange. Sure. You're just exchanging one country's money for another, waiting for it to go up or down, and exchanging it back. That's all there is to it. And
that makes sense.
And it happens all around the world, and it is so much larger. There's like $400 billion worth of money exchanged every day in Wall Street for stocks.
Blimey.
400 billion every day for Wall Street for stocks. There's 3 trillion every day in the Forex market worldwide. Wall Street,
I wish I had that much money.
Pales in comparison to the Forex market. So, and that comes with a little extra security. You know that there's no such thing as if you buy a penny stock, it might not have, you say, oh, I'm going to buy 1,000 shares for 3 cents. And if it goes up 1 cent, I'll have made $1,000. Or if it goes up 3 cents, I'll make $1,000. Yeah, but you might not have anybody buy that thing for 4 months. Whereas there's never a time when the markets are open. There's never a time that the Forex market's not moving. So it's just
I didn't realize I could make that kind of money off of penny stocks. I might need to look at penny stocks.
No, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't go down the rabbit hole. Because you can say, okay, I'm buying it for 3 cents.
Wolf of Wall Street.
What if it goes down to 2 cents and stays there for 6 months? Anyway, well, that's it on Forex. Now,
yes,
for our next episode, I'm going to show you some Forex charts and the world's most dead simple, easy strategy to trade. You don't have to know what's going on in order to be successful at it. Are you excited about that?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right.
Let's see what all we can trade.
Well, that'll be next week. So
next week.
If you would, say goodbye to the folks, and we will get out of here.
All right. That is all the time we have this week, everybody. My name is Nick. This is Pepper. We are Godly Trading Podcast. Y'all have a good one this week.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.